25 years, the Cardinals have played on artificial turf, with Ozzie Smith at short for 14 of those years. The turf even played a part in injuring Vince Coleman during the '85 playoffs. But in '96, the Cards have something new under the arch. Manager Tony La Russa brought his 1,320 American League wins over from Oakland, along with closer Dennis Eckersley and new shortstop Royce Clayton. So sit back and enjoy batting averages instead of Dow averages from newly sodded Busch Stadium. Mets Cardinals next on 9. Cardinals. Mets Baseball 96 is brought to you by Budweiser, official sponsor of the 1996 Olympic Summer Games. This Bud's for you. By your local Honda dealer. By Coca-Cola, always playing, always Coca-Cola. And by your Tri-State Jeep and Eagle dealer. Pitching for the Mets this afternoon, Mark Clark. Mark is 0-2, an ERA of 3.86. And for the Cardinals, Alan Bennis, who is 3-0, a 2.42 ERA.
Welcome to New York Mets baseball. The Mets against the St. Louis Cardinals. Last night, the Cardinals defeated the Mets. I'm Ralph Kiner along with Tim McCarver, and it's sort of a homecoming for a fellow on the New York Mets.
For Bernard Gilkey, and you mentioned that the Mets lost last night, but another good night for Gilkey. He drove in 3 of the 4 runs that the Mets scored last night. But I guess more importantly, for the first time since February, Bernard Gilkey has a chance to sleep in his own bed.
My return to Busch Stadium was a memorable one. It's the first time I ever came and played on the visiting side of the field here, but you know, to come back and see the fans, they really treated me well when I was in St. Louis, and I feel that they gave me a nice reception. It felt kind of strange though, playing against my ex-mates at home. It was kind of easier, I think, at Shea, but I had a little mixed emotions last night, and everything went well though.
Well, it's business person special here today, and a beautiful day for baseball. The temperature very nice for the game of baseball. We'll be back with the start of the ball game in just a moment, right after this message from your New York, New Jersey, Connecticut Nissan dealer. Well, the Mets against the Cardinals for the 5th time this year. Each team has won 2 ball games. Cardinals with a record of 12-10 in first place in the Central Division, and the Mets come into this ball game with a record of 7-12. Good crowd on hand, a good day for baseball. The temperature right around 70. And the new look here in St. Louis as Alan Bennis starts his warm-ups for the start of the ball game. Bennis with a record of 3-0. He has had 1 no decision against the Mets. He went 3 1/3 innings, gave up 7 runs, but only 3 of those earned. And he walked 2 and struck out a total of 5 in the 3 1/3 innings.
The Mets lineup is brought to you by your Tri-State Quality Ford dealer. As per usual, Lance Johnson leads it off, followed by Jose Vizcaino at second. Left fielder Bernard Gilkey batting third. Butch Husky in the cleanup slot. He's the right fielder. First baseman Rico Bronya batting fifth. Third baseman Jeff Kent will hit sixth. Brent Main behind the plate today, his second start of the year. Ray Ordonez, the shortstop, batting eighth, and Mark Clark, the pitcher, batting ninth.
And the defense for the St. Louis Cardinals, it'll be Ron Gant in left field, Ray Langford in center field, and Brian Jordan in right field. In the infield, we have Gaetti, Clayton, Alicea, Mabry in the infield from third to first, and the catcher will be Pat Borders, handling the pitches of Alan Bennis. The umpires for the game today, Jim Quick will be calling the balls and strikes. Dana DeMuth, the umpire at first base. Angel Hernandez, the umpire at second, and Charlie Rutherford, the umpire at third.
Ralph, when you look at the new dimensions here at Busch Stadium, the left center field slot now is 372. It used to be 386. And straightaway center only 402. It used to be 414. So this is a smaller ballpark here in left center and center. All the other dimensions are the same.
And a lot prettier, too, with the natural grass as Lance Johnson takes the second pitch. The count 1 ball and 1 strike. Johnson hitting .284, 0 for 5 last night. No home runs, 6 runs batted in. And he takes the fastball. The count 2 balls and 1 strike. Johnson the first to lead his league in 3 base hits 4 consecutive years, and he leads the National League in 3 base hits now with 6 so far this year. He has a total going for him of 84 3 base hits in his major league career. Lance Johnson, who started playing for the St. Louis Cardinals in his major league debut, traded to the American League and now back in the National, and he walks. So the Mets have the first base runner as Johnson picks up the base on balls. So Alan Bennis on the mound for the St. Louis Cardinals, the rookie, along with Andy Bennis, his brother, and the first brother combination to pitch for the St. Louis Cardinals since Lindy and Von McDaniel back in 1957 and 1958.
And yes, there is a younger Bennis. It's Adam. So the Cardinals may have the A team up here. Andy, Allen, Adam.
They are outstanding prospects. There's no question about it. Actually, Andy Bennis has been around a while, starting his career with the San Diego Padres as the #1 draft choice. Jose Vizcaino, a hot batter, 4 for 4 in last night's ball game. His last 6 at-bats, he's 5 for 5 with a sacrifice. And he steps in with an average of .297, 1 home run, 9 runs batted in. Lance Johnson with 3 stolen bases in 3 attempts. The Mets have had 10 and 14 in their stolen base attempts, and the pitch for ball 1 to Jose Vizcaino. Back on April the 4th against the Mets, Alan Bennis was the starting pitcher and had a no decision. He tries the breaking ball and misses, so 2 balls, no strikes to Jose Vizcaino with Bernard Gilkey on deck. Mike Hubbage, the third base coach for the Mets, sending the signs in as Pat Borders goes out to talk to his young pitcher. Borders, the catcher in this ball game. Dallas Green looking on his 8th major league season with 402 wins, 418 losses. And so far this year, the Mets have won 7 of their 19 ball games. The 2-0 delivery, and it's called a strike by Jim Quick, the home plate umpire. 2 balls, 1 strike. A good hit and run count right here. Mets with a team batting average of .284 with 21 home runs. And a throw to first base. Johnson back ahead of the tag by Mabry. Mets have had 14, make that 10 stolen bases in 14 attempts. The runner not going. The ball lined in the center field, coming up on it and playing it on the hop as Johnson goes for third. He'll go in standing up. And the Mets with runners at first and third. And Vizcaino now has had 6 hits and his last 6 official at-bats.
Excellent base running by Lance Johnson. He saw that when Langford fielded that ball, that he was back on his heels, the ball bouncing too close to Langford for him to be in good throwing position, and Johnson alertly goes to third.
Quite a bit of difference playing the ball on the natural grass here. And Johnson using that speed to go to third on the single, and now the batter is Bernard Gilkey, 2 for 4 last night with a home run, hitting .342 for the year with 6 home runs, 19 runs batted in. Cardinals at double play depth. They're willing to concede a run, hoping to get the double play. And the pitch back is just outside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Gilkey in his last 13 games has driven in 12 runs, so he's been the production for the New York Mets. And that pitch is a breaking ball for ball 2. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Ralph, if you're the runner on at third base with nobody out, runners on at first and third, a hard hit ground ball, you go home. But the chopper toward third, you've really got to use good judgment whether to go home or not.
And this ball hit into left center field. Over there is the center fielder, Ray Langford. He makes the catch, tagged up at third, and now coming home to score is Lance Johnson, and the Mets take the lead by a score of 1-0 on the run batted in by Bernard Gilkey on the sac fly.
Of course, the decision is made for you when a good number 3 hitter, and that's what Gilkey has proven to be. He was that way with the Cardinals, that way with the Mets. When he hits a fly ball, that takes all the guesswork out of it.
So the Mets have the early lead as they score here in the first inning. A runner at first base with 1 man out, and the batter will be Butch Husky. Husky 1 for 3 last night, hitting .209 for the year. He takes the breaking ball for a called strike.
There's that wicked slider from Bennis. A lot of people in the Cardinal organization think that he has a better slider than his brother. The downside to that, watch this ball go down. That is a wicked slider. Downside to that, you could come up with arm problems, and he did last year.
And he misses there.
Well, there's another one. You can see where that would put a lot of pressure on that elbow, and that's why a lot of organizations don't teach that pitch.
Take another look at it. 1 ball, 1 strike. Mets scoring the first run of the ball game for only the 6th time this year. They have won 3 and lost 2 when they have scored that first run. This guy, you know, the runner at first base, 2 stolen bases in 3 attempts. And a wild swing at another hard slider, and the count goes to 1-2. Husky brings a 7-game hitting streak into this game. He's had 9 for 26 over the 7 games, hitting .346 to raise his average to .209. But he has driven in only 3 runs while hitting in the cleanup spot for the Mets.
Got to make an adjustment and look away here.
He looks away and just does get a piece of it to stay alive, and another bad swing. Husky has been eaten up with breaking balls that have been thrown low and away to him so far this spring, as Dallas Green checks out his big right fielder.
See the rear end out. That's a terrible swing by Husky. Tom McCraw trying to get Husky with 2 strikes to become a defensive hitter. That means a hitter protects away. Does that mean he can be jammed with 2 strikes? Of course it does, but you can't protect both sides of the plate. You got to know what the opposition's trying to do to you. That's imperative to be a good hitter.
Husky has tried to minimize his problems of being out in front with that widespread stance, as you can see right there, with very little stride.
Yeah, but that's not going to help if your rear end continues to be out when you're swinging and making your approach.
And he goes to the curveball and misses. 2 balls and 2 strikes. One of the things you can do to guard against that low outside breaking ball is to try and hit it the other way. That keeps you in there. But as Tim pointed out, it does make you vulnerable to the inside fastball.
What difference does it make, though? I mean, he's already, they've thrown him 5 straight breaking balls. He'll probably get another one here.
And he does. It's hit on the ground to the shortstop, Clayton. They try for 2, and they make it easily. And he's safe at second base. They don't get the play at second. Second base umpire Angel Hernandez making the safe call at second on Vizcaíno.
Vizcaíno running on the play, and when balls hit that sharply, Clayton decides to go to second anyway. A fine job by Alicea, staying behind the bag and using the bag as protection from the sliding Vizcaíno. Dallas Green putting the runner in motion, and that prolongs the inning.
So the Mets with a runner in scoring position and 2 men out. Enrico Brogna, the batter. Brogna 0 for 4 last night. In a bit of a batting slump, hitting at .299 for the year. 2 home runs, 12 runs batted in. And it's the off-speed pitch for ball one.
Watch how Luis Alicea uses that bag as protection from the sliding Vizcaíno. See, the bag protected him from being taken out of the double play. Otherwise, he can't make a throw to first.
And that's ball two, so the count 2-0 on Bronya. Bronya batting in the 5th position in the batting order. The Mets leading 1-0 as we get underway here in St. Louis. And a good pickup by Borders on a pitch in the dirt. 3 balls, no strikes.
Funny, I was talking to Pat Borders before the game and asking him a question to refresh my memory as far as playing third base in the minor leagues. His first 4 years in the minors when he signed with Toronto was as a third baseman. Shifted to a catcher in his 5th year. That's difficult, but that also allows him to make a play like he just made.
3-0 delivery, a called strike, 3-1.
You just had a chance to see Brent Mayne. Brent Mayne and Pat Borders were teammates last year with the Kansas City Royals. They were the catching tandem in '95.
And that's ball 4. So Bronya picks up a walk, the 2nd walk in the inning. The Mets getting a run after Lance Johnson walked to lead off the ball game. Johnson scoring on a sac fly by Bernard Gilkey. And now runners at first and second. 2 men away. And the batter will be Jeff Kent as you look at the arch here in St. Louis, a famous landmark of the city of St. Louis. Overcast skies now, but a good warm day for baseball.
Tony La Russa, he doesn't miss too much. Outstanding manager.
And the first pitch is ball 1 to Jeff Kent, who is hitting .290. He was 0 for 3 last night. He's had 2 home runs so far this year with 12, make that 11 runs batted in. La Russa, of course, the manager of the White Sox and then Oakland, and now with the St. Louis Cardinals in the National League for the first time. He has his team in first place. They lead by a half game with a record of 12-10. This is a good ball club, the St. Louis Cardinals. He has put together a good combination of good type baseball players. 18th major league season. Play on at second base, and just getting back is Vizcaíno.
Now you look out to the left side of the Cardinal field. Ron Gann in left field, Gary Gaetti at third base, Royce Clayton at shortstop. None of the 3 with the Cardinals last year. Nor were Dennis Eckersley, Rick Honeycutt, Pat Borders. Have a lot of American League players on this Cardinal team.
And Kent goes after the pitch and misses. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. New ownership here in St. Louis for the St. Louis Cardinals. The Anheuser-Busch Corporation no longer has a part of the action here for St. Louis.
Nor has Ozzie Smith seen action this year.
He's due to come off the DL today. He has been bothered by a groin injury and hasn't played, and Clayton has done a good job in his stead at shortstop. 2-1 the count to Jeff Kent. Kent had a career-tying 9-game hitting streak stopped a couple of days ago. As you look at Ozzie Smith, a veteran shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals, 41 years of age. And it's hit hard to the shortstop side, fielded by Clayton. The underhand throw gets the force play at second base to retire the side. So in the inning, the Mets score 1, and after 1/2 inning of play, it's the Mets 1, the Cardinals coming up, and here's a word from U.S. Air. Mets leading 1-0 after 1/2 inning, and on the mound for the Mets, Mark Clark, who started his major league career with the St. Louis Cardinals. Clark on the mound has never faced the Cardinals in his professional career.
Mark will be facing the Cardinal lineup, brought to you by Honda. Leading off, Royce Clayton, the shortstop. Brian Jordan, the right fielder, hitting second. Ray Langford in center field will hit third. Ron Gant, the left fielder, batting fourth. John Mabry at first will bat fifth, followed by Gary Gaetti, the third baseman. Pat Borders, the catcher, will hit seventh. Luis Alicea, the second baseman, hitting eighth. And Alan Bennis, the pitcher, batting ninth.
The defense for the Mets, Gilkey in left field, Johnson in center, and Husky in right. The infield, Kent at third, Ordonez at shortstop, Vizcaíno at second base, and Bronya at first. The catcher is Maine, and on the mound, Mark Clark with a record of 0-2 this year. And this first pitch to Royce Clayton, taken high, a fastball for ball one. Clayton hitting .298, 1 for 3 last night. He has a home run and 14 runs batted in. And a fly ball hit to right field. Husky over into the corner. He tracks it down and makes the play. So Clayton, the first out of the ball game for Mark Clark. Cardinals hitting .265 as a team, but against the Mets so far this year, they're hitting .331 with 4 home runs. Mets come into this game with an earned run average of 5.09 for their pitching staff. That is extremely high, and especially with the predictions of fine pitching for this year. And the first pitch to Brian Jordan, inside for ball one. Jordan hitting .325, 3 for 5 last night. No home runs, 6 runs batted in. And he pops it up out into shallow right field. Moving back is Vizcaíno to make the play. 2 men out.
Even though that was a backup slider, that's where you have to pitch Brian Jordan. Most ex-football players are so tight through the chest that if you look at them without even knowing, if you know that they were ex-football players, you know you have to pitch them tight because of all the weightlifting and everything. They don't have the flexibility inside that most hitters that didn't play football do.
Steve Garvey, when he ended his college career as a football player, said he had to deprogram himself.
Yeah. The Steve Garvey, a great example. There's a guy that you had to jam, a real low ball hitter. And here's another guy with a football background, Ray Langford.
Langford at .275, 1 for 3 last night. 4 home runs, 14 runs batted in. And the count of strike one. Langford, a fine center fielder. Husky will remember him. He stole the 3-run home run off of Husky when the Cardinals played the Mets in Shea Stadium, and that fastball fouled away for strike 2. Mets on top, 1-0.
By far the biggest play that has been made against the Mets this year.
3-run home run would have put the Mets ahead of the Cardinals. Mets won 2 out of 3 from the Cardinals at Shea. Lost the first game here in this 2-game series, losing last night on a barrage of hitting by the St. Louis Cardinals. And a pitch high, a fastball, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cardinals with a tremendous background of baseball. This has been one of the great cities in the history of professional baseball. Who can forget the old Gas House gang that played in the 30s for St. Louis? And the strikeout ends the inning. A 1-2-3 inning for Mark Clark, and the score at the end of 1. It's the Mets 1 and the Cardinals 0. And here's a word from Colt Classic.
Todd Hundley and Butch Husky squaring off against one another before the game today. Todd being given a day off. Actually, it's Chris Jones and Todd Hundley. 4-point stance. Trying to get the jump.
A little holding penalty called right there, 15 yards. Well, we're going to the top of the second. The Mets on top with a run in the first, and the leadoff batter will be Brent Maine. Maine hitting .300, 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter last night. And he drove in the winning run against the Cardinals in that series at Shea Stadium at the beginning of the year. This ball hit in the foul territory, out of play, into the stands, and they counted 1 ball and 1 strike.
That was a poor imitation of Nate Newton against Howie Long. Jones against Hundley.
Gary Gaetti over to take a look, and back to his position as Maine bats with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. In his first game start, that was against Pittsburgh, Maine was 2 for 3 and getting an unusual start here as Todd Hundley is not playing in today's ball game. Hundley, the big hitter for the Mets so far this year. And again, it's hit foul, and again, it will be out of play.
And, you know, that's kind of a good news, bad news. It's good for Brent Maine to get a few at-bats, but Todd Hundley has been the most productive hitter that the Mets have, and he must be rested in order to keep up that productivity. You want to rest him before he gets tired, but unfortunately, the most productive hitter the Mets have had thus far, along with Bernard Gilkey, Todd Hundley, is a catcher.
8 home runs, 19 runs batted in, a .324 batting average for Todd Hundley at the start of the season. Boy, speaking of home runs, how about yesterday? All-time day for home runs in the history of Major League Baseball. Yesterday, 195 runs were scored. I should not just say home runs, but runs. 195 runs scored in yesterday's ball games. The all-time high.
Yeah, that's an average of 13.9 per game. And that average represents the highest one-day average in this century of any of the 1,593 days on which at least 14 games have been played. Wow.
How about Ray Ordonez, and he takes the first pitch for a called strike. Ray has been hot. 9 straight ball games. He's had at least 1 base hit. He's had 15 over the 9 games, and his average at .323. 1 for 4 in last night's ball game, and that puts the count at 1 ball and 1 strike.
13.9 runs scored yesterday. That's kind of a Wall Street figure. All the analysts would love that, talking about averages and stuff like that here. The NASDAQ keeps roaring, setting new highs on a daily basis.
The Twins scored 24 of those 195 runs.
Detroit scored 11 against them, 35 runs in 1 game.
Most runs against Detroit in 84 years as the Twins defeated Detroit 24-11 yesterday. Last time 24 runs were scored against the Tigers was a special occasion. This ball fouled back into the left side, and it'll be playable. And Gaetti makes the catch. So 2 men out. Back in 1912, the Detroit Tigers were playing the Philadelphia Athletics. And the Tiger team went on strike because Ty Cobb was suspended. And they decided not to play that day. And they put a field of semi-pro players, a whole team of them, on the field. A lot of them from St. Joseph's College. And Detroit lost that game by a score of 24-2 back in 1912. 1 ball and 1 strike. Mark Clark 0 for 6 so far this year. In his career, he's had 5 base hits and 49 at-bats and has driven in 1 run. The count goes to 1-2.
Another wicked slider from Bennis. It not only slides, but it goes down, too.
2 balls and 2 strikes. When you think of the Bennis brothers pitching for the St. Louis Cardinals, you think of the old Gas House gang of Paul Dean and Dizzy Dean. Dizzy Dean, the last man to win 30 ball games in the major leagues. Back in 1934, in the National League, I should say, not the major leagues, has McLean of the Detroit Tigers won 31 ball games in 1968. And there is Andy Bennis, the older brother of Alan Bennis, who's pitching for the Cardinals. Foul ball out of play in the count, 3-2.
I talked to Andy before the game, and I said, "Do you still get nervous when your brother pitches?" He said, "Not as nervous as I was for his first 2 starts, but look at him gripping the ball."
And a ground ball to the second base side. Alicea has it. The throw to first base, and the Mets go in order in the top half of the second inning. The score after 1.5 here in St. Louis. The Mets won, the Cardinals nothing. And now here's a word from Budweiser. Bottom half of the second inning, the Mets with a run in the first, leading 1-0, and Ron Gant will lead it off for St. Louis. Gant 2 for 5 last night, hitting .246. He has 4 home runs and 19 runs batted in. And the first pitch he called strike is Mark Clark. Works to his 4th batter in this ball game. Clark with a strikeout in the first inning. Back with a strike for strike 2 on Gant. Gant signed as a free agent with the St. Louis Cardinals after a comeback year. He was the comeback player of the year last year in the National League for the Cincinnati Reds. 1-2. .246 average so far. After a fine year for Cincinnati last year. Batted .276 for the Reds with 29 home runs, 88 runs batted in. He did not play in 1994 due to a broken leg that he broke on a motorbike accident, dirt bike accident.
Even though Gant is a fastball hitter, he likes the ball on the inside part of the plate. You've got to keep him honest and throw the fastball in off the plate. Look at Brent Maine. Well, that is a fine pitch by Mark Clark in off the plate to get Gant.
So 1 away on the strikeout, and John Mabry will be the batter. 0 for 2 last night. Mabry hitting .269. He batted .307 last year for the Cardinals in his rookie year and led all rookies in hitting. First baseman for St. Louis. Pretty good fastball there. Clark, who has an earned run average of 3.86, starting off very well, very strongly against St. Louis. This is Business Person Special here today. 12:30 start in St. Louis. Back in the office about 3:30. Maybe. Strike 2 the count. Good fastball there. Mabry, .307 with 5 home runs, 41 runs batted in 129 games last year. He fouls that one off.
Take a look at that sea of red here in the stadium. The Cardinals, of course, the Redbirds, and they have been since back in the late 1880s. They have won more World Series than any National League team. Only team to win more, the Yankees.
And a swing and a miss. So 3 strikeouts in a row, starting with the end of the first inning and the first 2 here in the second.
And it's interesting, Ralph, I think that the Cardinals, for the most part, have always, I mean, in 110 or so years, they've always been the same type of team. They've had good pitching, good defense, and good speed, even when they played in Sportsman's Park. They've only led the league in home runs 5 times in their existence, and that's not a lot.
They have always been a very aggressive type team. That reputation starting back in the 20s.
Good base running. First pennant came in 1926.
This ball hit high in the air at a deep left center field, but it will be playable. Johnson over to make the call and catch, and another 1-2-3 inning. So 6 in a row for Mark Clark to score. At the end of 2, the Mets won, the Cardinals nothing. And here's a word from Chrysler.
1-0 Mets here in the top of the 3rd inning. You know, earlier we were talking about Andy Bennis. This is what the hitter sees. That type of arm motion and wrist movement from Andy Bennis. But this is why it's so damaging to the elbow. You can see how the elbow has to snap for a slider to be thrown that effectively. Steve Carlton used to say, I said Andy Bennis, that's Alan Bennis. Steve Carlton used to say that in order to eliminate that, get strong enough from the fingertips to the elbow and just cut through the ball. And that way, Steve Carlton, of course, never had elbow injuries, and that way you prevent elbow damage.
So Alan Bennis, who missed 4 months with elbow problems last year, made his major league debut in September against Pittsburgh and won his first game against the Pirates, on the mound here for the 3rd, and he does twist that elbow when he throws the slider. Rip Sewell, who was a great slider ball pitcher, used to say you throw a slider like you snap your fingers.
Now, when you snap your fingers that hard and you're throwing with that much velocity, I don't care how big you are, it puts a lot of stress on that elbow. And sure enough, he missed 4 months of the season last year with elbow problems.
The batter for the Mets, Lance Johnson. Johnson walked and scored his first time up, and he hits this ball to right field. Brian Jordan, the right fielder, and it's one away. Mets on top, 1-0, as Jose Vizcaino contributed in his first at bat in the first inning with a single to put Johnson on third, where he scored on the sac fly. And Vizcaino batting for the second time, 1 for 1. He's 5 for 5 in his last 5 at bats against the Cardinals, and he's 6 for 6 in his last 6 at bats. Average now at 308, and he takes ball 1. And his pitch, and it's drilled into left center field. A long run for Gant. He can't get to it. It'll be extra bases. Gant picks it up. Vizcaino to second and holding there. And the Mets have a runner at second with 1 away here in the third. And it's now 7 for 7 for Vizcaino.
He has been to bat 8 straight times and has not made an out. The other time, 7 straight hits, but the other time he had a sacrifice. 7 straight hits. Did you ever do that?
No,
I didn't. I didn't.
The record is 12, and Jim Bottomley of the St. Louis Cardinals was the man who did that, playing for the Cardinals back in the 30s with that famous Gas House gang. Bernard Gilkey, the batter, he's been hot. 2 for 4 last night. Drove in the Mets run with a sac fly his first time up. Saw Grave Pavlik, the pitching coach of the Mets, there. Gilkey, who led the Cardinals in hitting. And a diving play, and what a play by Royce Clayton at shortstop. That is highway robbery.
This ball really smoked to the right of the Cardinals shortstop. Brilliant play by Clayton. Fine play to save a run by Royce Clayton. And that's why the Cardinals are very comfortable with Ozzie Smith's replacement, 26-year-old Royce Clayton.
And now for the Mets with 2 men away, the batter will be Butch Husky. Husky 0 for 1 in this ball game. Brought a 7-game hitting streak into the game. He takes a good fastball to hit. Strike 1, and right there, those sliders that he saw his first at bat, setting that pitch up right there, fastball.
Thinking the same thing. He had 6 sliders thrown in a row, and now the fastball freezed him.
There's the breaking ball right there, curveball, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Alan Bennis has excellent stuff. Runner at second base, 2 men away. The Mets leading 1-0. We're in the top half of the 3rd inning. And another fastball right on by. So that previous at bat, indelible in the mind of the pitcher, Alan Bennis. Never saw those fastballs that first time up. And it's another fastball, but this one out of the strike zone. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Husky. Husky has not had a home run for the Mets. Mets have totaled 21 home runs so far this year. Husky had 9 home runs in spring training. And a wild swing at the slider, and that does it. So the Mets lead 1 on the double by Vizcaino, and the score at the end of 2.5 innings. The Mets won, the Cardinals nothing. And here's a word from Bell Atlantic. Well, we're going to the bottom half of the 3rd. It's 1-0 the New York Mets as you look into the Stadium Club here at Busch Memorial Stadium. Luncheon's served up there, and also You can get a view of the ball game from the Stadium Club here. One time, Marty Marion was associated with the ownership of that Stadium Club. The great shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals in the 40s. As the Cardinals' Pat Porter leads it off and grounds the first pitch right back to the pitcher, Mark Clark, who knocks it down, picks it up, gets the out. Hey, Mets fans, this break in the action is brought to you by Budweiser. Now's the time to enjoy that crisp, clean Budweiser taste. This Bud's for you. One away in the bottom half of the third, and Luis Alicea will be the batter, hitting .203.
How can $150 million be a steal? Well, Anheuser-Busch selling the Cardinals last November, actually last October, for $150 million, and in my view, it's a steal.
One of the great franchises that has ever been in baseball. They have drawn over 3 million people many times. Drawing all the way from Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, Illinois, of course. The fans in Illinois are either, of course, you have White Sox and Cub fans in Chicago, but a very big rivalry between the Cardinals and the Cubs.
Ground ball to the first base side. Bronya has it. Now Clark, and 2 men away. One of the great networks of radio broadcasting has been the St. Louis Cardinals, and people as far south as Florida during those ball games.
Nice play by Rico Bronya. He shovels off to Mark Clark. 8 Cardinals in a row have been retired by Mark so far in this game. Yeah, I mean, before the 2 Texas teams, the Rangers and the Houston Astros, the Atlanta Braves, the Marlins. There's Jack Buck, and he used to work with Harry Carey. Jack came to the Cardinals in 1954. Harry Carey in 1945, and Jack and Harry were partners for 16 years here over KMOX.
That's a 50,000 clear channel broadcasting the Cardinal games. I used to get the Cardinal games at night out in California when I was a kid. Yeah.
All right. I did also growing up in Memphis. I used to also get that record show.
This ball drilled to right, a shallow right field by Husky, and it'll go for extra bases. Alan Bennis gets his first base hit for the St. Louis Cardinals this year. He had been 0 for 9.
Now, Butch Husky properly playing the pitcher shallow. Alan Bennis, his first major league hit. He smoked that ball. I mean, that ball was rocketed to right field. That ought to be outlawed. No pitcher getting his first major league hit ought to be able to stop the game and get the ball. We talked about it the other day. I mean, how many pitchers' homes have you ever gone into and they say, here's my first major league hit? Not one.
Not one. Well, Alan Bennis gets his first major league hit and a souvenir, and he's on second base representing the tying run. Hit hard to short. Good play by Ordonez, who stays in front of it, comes up with it, and Royce Clayton is thrown out. So 1 hit, 1 man left. First hit of the ball game for the Cardinals, and the score at the end of 3. The Mets won, the Cardinals nothing. And here's a word from Infinity. Top of the 4th, the Mets on top by a score of 1-0, and coming in for the play-by-play, a man who made his debut in the major leagues right here in St. Louis with the St. Louis Cardinals, Tim McCarver.
Long time ago, 35, 36 years, 37
well, let me tell you this one. You think that's old? 50 years ago, I played against Stan Musial in Sportsman's Park in St. Louis in my first major league ball game about this time in 1946.
And your first major league hit against Johnny Beasley. Stan Musial, on the other hand, broke in 55 years ago. Stan the man. Yeah, Ralph. Good, Ralph. Yeah, that's good. Stan the man of many. Stan the man. I'm Stan the man. That's a good shot of me, don't you think?
And he got that name from the Brooklyn fans at Ebbets Field. Stan the man. There's that man again.
Yeah, the Dodgers couldn't get him out as Rico Bronya walked his first plate appearance. 1-0 Mets here in the 4th inning. One of the sweetest men I think I've ever met, and I'll tell you, another one of those types of guys is in the ballpark today. Buck O'Neill, who is 84 years young. What a gentle, kind man that everybody had a chance to see on that brilliant. There's Buck. Brilliant television series done by Ken Burns, The History of Baseball.
He made that series.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, what a marvelous storyteller. On the left, there's Lou Brock in the Hall of Fame.
Buck O'Neill played with those great players in the Negro Leagues, and he was with the Cubs when I played with the Cubs.
Playing manager of the Kansas City Monarchs. He was a first baseman, played with Satchel Paige, played against Josh Gibson. A great story he told on the History of Baseball by Ken Burns about how Satchel Paige, with 2 outs and a runner on first, walked 2 guys intentionally, 8 straight balls, just to prove to Josh Gibson that he could get him out. And sure enough, he struck him out.
I used to say to Satchel Paige, "Aren't you going to warm up?" He says, "No, I've never cooled down."
Great line. 3-1 to Brunion. On the outside corner, full count to Rico. Rico was ready to go to first.
I played quite a few games against Satchel Paige, and he used to take infield practice even though he was going to pitch in the game. He'd get out at third base and field the ball in infield practice before he pitched in the ball game.
Still 3-2 to Brunion. My experience with Satchel was in 1961. The Cardinals trained in Homestead, Florida, and Satchel was a pitcher for one of the AAA teams of the Cardinals, the Portland Beavers. Fouled away. Still 3-2 to Rico Brunion.
Satchel Paige with just a fantastic fastball and pinpoint control. He could hit that outside corner with a slider about as well as any pitcher that ever pitched, and I would have to think that he and Grover Cleveland Alexander were very similar in that respect.
Brunion jammed, grounds to first. Mabry takes it himself. 1 out here in the 4th. Take a look at our National League scoreboard. The Expos 14-7 on the year, 2-0 over the Cincinnati Reds. Phillies at Colorado later on. Atlanta in San Francisco. The Cubs down at Jack Murphy Stadium. Houston playing the Dodgers under the lights as Jeff Kent steps up. Jeff grounded to short his first at bat. 1-0 Mets here in the 4th.
How about that Henry Rodriguez of Montreal? A home run in his last 4 ball games. He's hit 6 home runs in his last 13 at bats.
Unbelievable. Henry Rodriguez went to the Montreal Expos as damaged goods. Kent fouls it back, 2 balls and a strike. He actually had a broken bone in his hand. It was discovered after he was with the Expos for 2 days, but today it's caveat emptor, buyer beware.
They don't want to send him back right now. I'm sure of that.
No way. Slider, Kent holds up, or did he? Yes, says first base umpire Dana DeMuth. 3 balls and a strike to Jeff Kent. See, all those guys have white shirts on, but one. He evidently didn't get the inner office memo.
He didn't check his email, huh?
Matter of fact, that's what Bob Howsam, the ex-general manager of the Cardinals, used to send to the players. Inter-office memos. We had no idea what memos were. He'd send memos to Kurt Simmons saying to work on his move, and Kurt say, "Yeah, I'll do it in my basement this winter." Bob now retired in Glenwood Springs, Colorado.
Put together that famous red machine for Cincinnati.
Bad hop by Alafea, but he throws out Kent. 2 outs here in the 4th inning, and that'll bring up Brent Maine.
Bob Howsam was the owner of the Denver ball club in the minor leagues for years and years, and then came to the major leagues, was an outstanding executive.
Matter of fact, Bob Howsam was hired in 1964 when Bing Devine was fired. Red Shandies was a coach with the Cardinals at the time. After this series, as we take a look at our Toyota American League scoreboard, and Brent Maine coming up. Fly ball, left field. It's going to be caught by Ron Gant. After the series, Johnny Keane moves to the Yankees, and Red Shandies becomes the manager of the Cardinals for 12 years. 1-0 Mets, middle of the fourth. We're back after this from Nobody Beats the Wiz. One nothing Mets over the Cardinals here in the middle of the fourth. This game is brought to you by Nobody Beats the Wiz Home Entertainment Centers. And by your Tri-State Toyota dealer. I love what you do for me, Toyota. And the Cardinals love what this man has done for them. This is the first year out of uniform. 54 years in uniform. And to my knowledge, that is the most that anybody has ever been in uniform in the major leagues consecutively. And as a result, the Hall of Famers #2 will be retired on May the 11th, and it could not happen to a nicer man, Red Shandies.
Huckleberry Finn.
Yes, sir. Boy, could he play.
I played against Red Shandies in the International League in 1943. He was the shortstop for the Rochester Ball Club.
Brian Jordan popped to second his first at bat. He grounds one towards second now, and Jose Vizcaíno throws him out. Howard Paulette, the pitching coach of the Cardinals back in the early 60s, told me that two things about Red. He had the softest hands that he'd ever seen, and that he was always ready for a fastball when he played. He could flat hit, won the All-Star game in 1950 in the 14th inning, and that was the same game where you injured Ted Williams.
He broke his elbow catching the ball my first time up, and I hit a home run in the 9th to tie it, so he could be the hero in the 14th.
It's pretty good tying it, too. Ted Williams trying to make a catch at Comiskey Park in Chicago, broke his left elbow as Ray Lankford takes a slider down and in. 1-0 to Lankford, who struck out his first at bat. 1-0 Mets, and Mark Clark has been brilliant today.
Now, Ted Williams said he never could really hit well after that. Only hit .388.
Hit .388 when he was 39 years old in 1957 to win the American League Batting Championship. Did Williams. 1-1 to Lankford. Outside and high, 2 balls and a strike to Ray Lankford. Fastball high, 3-1 to Ray Lankford. The Mets scoring their only run of the ball game in the first inning. Lance Johnson scoring on a sacrifice fly by Bernard Gilkey. There's Willie McGee. Speaking of batting champions, he was the champion of the National League in 1985 and again in 1990. Or was it 89, I guess? Traded to Tony La Russa and the Oakland Athletics during that same year. Winning the World Series. That was, of course, the Earthquake World Series against the San Francisco Giants. Pitch is high. Third base umpire Charlie Relaford says that Lankford did not go around. It didn't appear that he did. That'll bring up Ron Gant, the left fielder. Lankford a threat to run. He has a couple of stolen bases. 24 last year. Fastball for a strike. Only one Cardinal hit. That was a double by pitcher Alan Bennis. Not running, and the fastball again on the outside corner. 0-2 now to Ron Gant. You get the feeling that Brent Maine knows what he's doing behind the plate, too. I think the difference in the Mets catchers, even though Todd Hundley has improved, Brent Maine is a catcher that hits. Hundley is a hitter that catches. He's improved calling a game, but he's not where Maine is right now.
Maine, the #1 catcher for Kansas City, and of course he has to learn the National League hitters, but he's done a good job.
Fastball popped up, foul territory. Kent, 2 outs. So 3 straight fastballs to a fastball hitter.
That's amazing because he is really a fastball hitter. And obviously, Gant looking breaking ball. This fastball right here, he's behind, so he pops it up. Doesn't have a good swing at it.
Probably remembering that fastball inside that he struck out on. First time up. Running situation here with Langford. He waited for the power hitter, Gant, to swing without running. Now the left-handed hitter. It's always tougher for a catcher to throw with a left-handed hitter up there, so it kind of adds to a running situation, and Clark knows that.
And Mabry, not a home run type hitter, so they would like to get him down there at second base in scoring position on a single.
Not running. The fastball misses outside. A ball and no strikes to John Mabry, the first baseman. There goes Langford. Breaking ball hit down the right field line over the head of Bronya. And Langford's going to score. Mabry with a double, a 1-1 ball game. That looked like an artificial turf bounce on grass.
I was thinking that this infield has to be extremely hard because that ball really took a big hop. So they might have taken the artificial turf out, but they left the bounce in. This bounces over the head of Bronya and goes down the line for the 2-base hit, and with the runner going on the pitch, Langford scores easily, and it's tied up at 1.
RBI number 7 for Mabry in his 3rd double of the year is Gary Gaetti, the batter. He flied to left his first at bat, and the fastball low to Gary. Strikes to Gary Gaetti, who is looking for his first career hit off Mark Clark. Tap foul. 2 balls and a strike to Gaetti.
Gaetti broke in here in St. Louis. Well, he got a home run his first at bat in Busch Stadium.
Also played against the Cardinals as a member of the Minnesota Twins back in 1987. A series won by the Twins in 7 games. Gaetti is jammed. Bronya in. Glass is down, and Rico makes the catch. But the Cardinals tie it with a run. And it's 1-1 after 4. We'll be back after this from your local Dodge dealer. Even across the board here in the 5th inning. That's trying to even this abbreviated series as Greg Pavlik, the pitching coach, talking to Jason Isringhausen. The Mets head for Pittsburgh after the game. They'll play a night game tomorrow night. We'll be on the air at 7:30. It'll be Jason Isringhausen against Zane Smith. Let's take a look at the new Dodge quiz this afternoon. What 2 players hit the most career home runs for players born outside the United States? We are privy to the question. but we are not privy to the answer.
Unfortunately.
Our guys in the truck are, and they tease us before every game. They know, and we don't. But the first two names that crop up, Orlando Cepeda and Tony Perez, with 383 and 382, respectively. I think Cepeda is one behind Perez, as Ray Ordonez hits one down the right field line, and Jordan is there. Ordonez with a 9-game hitting streak. I don't think he will be included in players born outside the United States in home run totals, but they'll be talking about him as far as shortstops are concerned. But he's 0 for 2 today, and that'll bring up Mark Clark, the pitcher. Born outside the United States.
Well, that certainly has to be the ones you'd consider. Jeff Heath hit a lot of home runs. He was born in Canada, but not nearly the amount that Perez and Cepeda.
Might be a trick question by our friends at Elias,
They
too.
wouldn't do that, would they?
Do it to us all the time.
Yes, they would.
0-2 to Mark Clark. Strike 3 call. So Clark's out of there. That's 7 in a row now. Retired by Bennis. Okay, here's the answer. Born outside the United States, the two most prolific home run hitters. All right.
And lucked into that
Oh,
one.
they both hit 379.
379.
I was thinking it was like 383 and 382 or something like that. Lance Johnson, the batter, and a breaking ball outside to Lance. 1 ball and no strikes to Johnson. 1-1 game here in the 5th. Hit hard, but right at second baseman Luis Alicea. The Mets are approaching Bennis properly, but they have only 1 run to show. Still tied. We're back after this from your Tri-State Toyota dealer. 1-1 game, bottom of the 5th. Back in to call it for you. Here's Ralph.
And there's a lot more baseball action to come, so don't go away. Sit back, relax, and open an ice-cold Beechwood Age Budweiser. This Bud's for you. Pat Borders will lead it off for the Cardinals. It's tied at 1. Borders batting for the 2nd time. Bounced back to the pitcher and was thrown out his first time up. Both sides with 2 hits in the game. Both pitchers pitching extremely well. And Borders fouls off the fastball.
You can wear it frontwards or backwards, but not to the side.
Kappa Kappa askew.
Kappa Kappa skew, right.
And the count now. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Borders. Borders will be followed by Alicea, and then the pitcher, Alan Bennis. Both of the Cardinal hits have been 2 base hits, and that ball off of the body of Mark Clark and out into right field for a base hit. And we'll check out Clark to see if he's okay.
Looked like it hit him off the left shin. What does that bring back memories? A similar ball hit off Bob Gibson's leg. Yep, hit him on the left kneecap. Hit by Roberto Clemente, a 1-hopper back to the mound. It broke Gibson's right leg in 1967, and he threw 5 balls to the next 2 hitters before he collapsed, writhing in pain.
Now Alicea, the batter, and the hit and run is on, and a single to center field. Borders to second and holding there as Johnson gets to it in a hurry. And back-to-back base hits with no one out here in the 5th inning for the Cardinals, with the pitcher coming up.
I think the Mets will use the rotation play here because you don't have speed on the bases. In all probability, Bennis will bunt, even though he did double his first time up for his first major league hit. Jeff Kent out talking to Clark right now. See what Tony La Russa does to try to confuse the Mets defense.
Bennis had been 0 for 9 before his 2-base hit this year. He hit it over the head of Butch Husky in right field for the double. So Clark reached for 2 hits here in the 5th inning and working to Alan Bennett. The Mets are set up to defense against the sacrifice. And they fake the rotation play with Ordonez going over to third, trying to lure the second base runner Borders away from the bag at second, but he doesn't fall for that. Vizcaino covering at second base. Normally he would be going toward first. Rotation play. Third baseman coming in, first baseman coming in, second baseman going to the first base bag, and the shortstop covering at third. Very effective play with runners at first and second in a bunting situation. Almost impossible to bunt against it. He squares and bunts it out to the third base side. It'll be a tough play for Clark. The throw to first base is in time and just in time. And the sacrifice moves the runners up.
Well, there certainly was a time to put the rotation play on, but the Mets didn't do it. As a result, Clark had to field the ball. He turned the wrong way and barely got Bennis at first base. See, Kent holds his position at third. Now he thinks he may have to field it, but Clark made the play and turned to his right instead of his left. Looked like Clark got his footwork a little messed up, but he did make the play. Clark backhands it, turns to his right, plants and throws to just get Bennis. Close play.
The runners now at second and third with 1 man out, and Royce Clayton the batter. So Clark has some work to do here. Clayton has flied to right and grounded to the shortstop in his 2 at-bats. Mets have their infield in for a play at the plate. Clayton hitting .298 coming into this game. Now at .291 with his 0 for 2. And the breaking ball for ball 1. Clayton had his first 4-hit game against the Mets back in '93. It was on July 4th. He was with the Giants at that time.
He's celebrating some independence of a different kind now with the Cardinals, his new team.
And it's grounded back to the pitcher. They got the runner hung up between third and home. And a good job by Clark as he runs right at him and then makes the tag. And that's the way you make that play. You run right at the runner.
That's exactly right. By running at the runner, you make the runner commit. Nice play by Mark Clark.
On the play, Alicea goes to third base. So runners now at first and third on the fielder's choice. And the batter will be Brian Jordan. Jordan 0 for 2. Strike 1.
I think what Tony La Russa will do, he will allow Jordan to hit up to 2 strikes and then take a chance on stealing a run by sending Clayton.
Clayton with 7 stolen bases, a club leader. He's been thrown out 3 times. 1 strike to count and a throw to first. Infield deep against Brian Jordan, who came in hitting .325, 3 for 5 last night. Ground ball to third, long throw for Kent, and he doesn't get it there in time, and a run scores. So Kent unable to make the play, and it will be an infield base hit and a run batted in, and the Cardinals take the lead by a score 2-1.
Great asset speed is. It's a routine ground ball over the bag. Ken had him played perfectly. Jeff does everything he can, but the strong throw. Bronya comes off the bag. Had Rico stayed on the bag, I think they would have gotten him, but it looked like that throw was just a little bit to the home plate side of first base. I I think if he stays on the bag, he's out. But I think Rico came off the bag too soon.
Hard to tell whether or not he had to come off or not from that angle.
May have been a throw a little bit into the runner that caused him to come off.
Now Ray Langford, the batter, and he has a strike one count.
Yep, the throw pulled him off. Had the throw been right on the money and perfect, they have him.
It is scored as a base hit, an infield hit for Jordan. Runners at first and second with 2 men out. Langford has walked and struck out in his 2 appearances. He takes a strike for strike 2. Langford with 4 home runs. He is tied with Gant for the club lead in that department. And it is taken inside, 1 ball and 2 strikes, and that pitch close.
Thought he went too far, but it did look like he held up.
So 1-2 count to Langford. And he hits it again off of the pitcher Clark. It goes in the center field for a base hit. Another run will score, and the Cardinals lead it by a score of 3-1 as Langford comes up with a run batted in. Jordan going first to third on the base hit. And the Cardinals have scored 2 here to take the lead 3-1.
Brian Jordan missed some action with a pulled hamstring, tightness in the hamstring. And it looks like that right knee is bothering him now.
That'll bring up Ron Gant, runners at first and third. Gant 0 for 2. He has struck out and fouled out. Good breaking ball, strike 1. Cardinals with 4 hits in this inning, 2 runs in. They now have a total of 6 hits in the game. Runner going on the pitch, it swung on and fouled off, so a runner at first base. Langford back to first, and they counted strike 2 on Ron Gant.
2 strikes and 2 outs. We were trained with the Cardinals, as you see Jordan on at third, Langford on at first. I wouldn't pitch out here, even though you think there might be a chance of him running, because by pitching out, you may be forgetting the pitch that you get the hitter out with. That's why with 2 strikes and 2 outs, generally speaking, it's not a good pitch out situation.
Runner goes again, and the ball hit foul down the first base side. So once again, Langford running with the pitch, and once again back to first. Tony La Russa figuring with a 2-strike count. The odds of the runner going on the pitch and getting down to second, even though a strikeout might be imminent, certainly on the Cardinals' side. And this time a fake out of throw to first base by Mark Clark. Langford with 2 stolen bases and 3 attempts so far this year. He does not go, and a swing and a miss, and that will end the inning. But 2 big runs for the St. Louis Cardinals, and they take the lead by a score of 3-1. As we go to the top of the 6th, it's 3-1 St. Louis, and now here's a word from the United States Postal Service.
Fans, don't forget Sunday, May 12th is Mother's Day, and it's the perfect day to bring Mom to a Mets game, because all ladies 15 and over will take home a Mother's Day tote bag, compliments of Tropicana and Seatown supermarkets. So bring the family to Shea on May 12th for the Mets-Cubs afternoon game. For tickets, call 718-507-TIXX during business hours.
Well, we're getting set to go to the top of the 6th inning, and the first pitch hit hard to right field by Jose Vizcaino, and that is his 3rd hit of this ball game. He now has had 8 base hits in his last 8 at-bats. That ties a Met record.
Jerry Grody had 8 straight hits and 8 at-bats back in 1970. Keith Hernandez in 1985. And a guy standing between us who had 8 straight hits a few times, too. Stan the man. 3,630, right, Stan?
That's a lot of hits, Tim, when you think about 20 hits a year for 15 years.
200 hits a year.
200, yeah.
How about you still got that in your license plates, 3,000?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They, everybody knows it. It's good. It has a lot of pluses and some minuses because the plus is, the speeding guys won't give you a ticket.
Oh, yeah. That's got to be one of the pluses.
And the minus is everybody knows where you are.
So which outweighs the other? I don't know. Well, Stan Musial joining us here in the broadcast booth. We had Brett Shindies on here earlier with us in the broadcast booth, and where you see Red, you usually see Stan. You guys were inseparable.
Yeah, we spent a lot of years together. He lives in St. Louis, and I do too. We love it. And of course, Red's a great guy, and he put in 50 years in baseball, and he's been a great asset.
Well, they retired your number, and now they're going to retire his, huh?
Yeah, May 11th of Red. That'll be terrific.
And a ground ball hit to the second base side. Alicea will field it and pick up the out at first base. Vizcaino moving down to second as the Mets trail in this ball game 3-1. And Stan Musial with us in the broadcast booth. And Stan, you played against the New York Mets.
Oh, yes, I remember very well when we opened up against the Mets, the expansion team, and they had Roger Craig pitching. I just went 4 for 4.
You had 3 home runs in that game, didn't you? You did have 3 home runs in a game in '62, I believe.
Against the Mets, but that opening day was here, Tim, and I remember it very well because I didn't have too many good opening days, but I remember that one.
4 for 4 opening day against the Mets in 1962, and that first game that was scheduled was rained out, so that game was played on the next day.
Yeah, right. It was well, the Mets have done well. That. A few years later, they won a pennant. 69 had a great team. They were just outstanding.
Well, you played with some of the great Cardinal teams and, of course, came up with the St. Louis Cardinals, although growing up in the Pittsburgh area in Denora, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Ralph,
Little fly ball on the second base side. It'll be fielded by Alicea, and he picks up the putout.
I'm glad you mentioned Pittsburgh because I'm heading to Pittsburgh this weekend. They're opening the Heinz Museum in Pittsburgh, and it's a fantastic museum. And being from Pittsburgh, I have a few of my things in there, and we're honored to be invited to the opening ceremonies over the weekend.
Did you ever have a chance to sign with the Pittsburgh Pirates?
Well, I worked out with the Pirates, pitching as a pitcher, but
I never knew that.
Yes, I did.
I've never heard that.
And what happened, I worked out a couple of days, and then the Cardinals sent me a contract, and I had signed with the Cardinals that fall. And so I had to tell Pie Traynor I was already signed, and here's what Pie Traynor told me. He says, Stan, if you ever get released or out of a job, come see me. So I came pretty close.
24 years later, huh? Well, you did start your career as a pitcher and hurt your arm as a pitcher, but you also played in the outfield while you pitched in the minor leagues. You played for Dickie Kerr, the great Cardinal left-hander.
Yes, I was a typical left-hander. I was wild, and I didn't have confidence in pitching. I walked a lot of fellas, whereas I had a lot of confidence in my hitting. I could hit in high school, and when I was young, I could hit the opposite field. I was always a good hitter, and I don't know why the Pirates didn't really find me as a hitter.
And you could flat run as a young player, too, right, Stan?
Yes, indeed. I had a lot of good speed, and I beat out a lot of hits, and so speed is a great asset in baseball.
It's proven so in this game. Brian Jordan beating the play at first base, put the Cardinals ahead last inning.
Speed in offense and defense. Good speed is a great asset, indeed. Well, Tim, I remember when I was general manager, you were our team captain 6 and 7 and won the Penn World Series, and that was one of the great teams of baseball. You fellas were all pros. You did your job, and it was a fantastic year.
It was the best team that I played on as far as getting the most out of the talent that was given you, and ended up beating the Red Sox in 7 games, and I've got goosebumps.
Oh, that was a fantastic series. I was the general manager. Rashandes was the manager, and we didn't make many moves during the year.
Made one move.
One move.
And that was because of Gibson breaking the leg,
yeah,
right?
That's correct. We needed an extra pitcher, and we brought him up.
And a ground ball hit right back to Bennis, the pitcher, and that will do it for the inning. The Mets threaten but don't score. And the score after 5.5 innings, it is the St. Louis Cardinals 3, the New York Mets 1. And we'll be right back after this word from your Tri-State Toyota dealer. In the bottom of the 6th inning, leading by a score of 3-1, we're talking with Stan Musial up in the broadcast booth. Stan had just as many hits on the road as he had at home in his major league career.
That was the most amazing stat to get the same number of hits. And, of course, what did it was...
And a ground ball hit the shortstop by John Mabry, and he's thrown out by Ordonez.
What did it, Ralph, was I got 2 hits in my last game to even things out.
Is that right? Yeah, 2 hits against Jim Maloney in the
last
Cincinnati
game.
Reds.
Last game. After I got those 2 hits, I said, why am I retiring?
I'm not trying to embarrass Stan by any means, but here is a man who has met with the Pope on many occasions, with James Michener, Ed Pizak, your friend in Philadelphia.
Right.
And tell us what you would tell us between innings, Stan, if you would.
Well, we're the Little League, Dr. Hill of the Little League has been to Poland, and we're going to build a Little League complex in Poland. It's been designated as a headquarters for Little League Baseball in Kutno, Poland. So we're building a complex like the one they have in Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
We're going over there in June to dedicate part of the project, and it's going to have training. It's going to be a conference center, a training center for coaches and players and managers that come all over Eastern Europe, and that's an exciting program.
And a base hit by Gaetti up the alley in left center field. It'll go for a 2-base hit as Johnson gets it back in, and Gaetti on at second with 1 away here in the 6th, with the Cardinals leading 3-1. You're also going to be the Grand Marshal of a parade in New York.
Yes, I'm, I've been coming to New York quite often because, we were there opening day with the Cardinals, and of course, I'm going to be the parade marshal for the Pulaski Parade October 6th in New York City. I'm all excited about that. I always love New York. They're great fans, so I'll be looking forward to that honor.
They were great fans, but they didn't like to see Stan Musial come to Ebbets Field, I'll tell you that.
Well, Ebbets Field was a great place for a left-hand hitter, short right field, and I did some great hitting over there.
Wasn't your lifetime average about 420 at Ebbets Field?
Well, it was closer to about 400.
Close enough.
You're in the Brooklyn Hall of Fame, there's no doubt about that, as an opposing player, as the ground ball has hit the third to Kent, and Pat Borders is thrown out of third base.
Yes, I was honored to be put in the Brooklyn Hall of Fame, And what happened there was this. The night before, we're having little ceremonies on in Brooklyn, a dinner, and the 20 of us were in a bus, and the bus driver let everybody off at the wrong restaurant. So here we're about a mile or 2 away. So I got on the curb, and I was looking for a taxi cab with Mrs. Musial, and the first car came by. The guy said, "Hey, Stan, what are you doing here in Brooklyn?" And I told him my predicament. He said, "Hop in." He took me right over to the restaurant. So
we are talking with Stan Musial, a guy who never met a harmonica he didn't like. You got your harmonica today?
You better believe it.
Well,
what about Wabash Cannonball, a quickie?
I never leave on without it. How about taking me out to the ball game?
That'd be perfect.
Well, the intentional walk puts the runner at first base along with the runner at second, and I think with that, you better walk away. Nice to have you, Stan.
Thank you, Stanley, so much. It was great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Great.
Stan Musial. And there is no one more liked in baseball or anywhere as far as that's concerned as Stan Musial. And we thank him for coming into our broadcast booth for that short period of time. Runners at first and second, 2 men out. Cardinals leading 3-1. Bottom half of the 6th inning, and the ground ball to the shortstop, Ordonez. He throws to Vizcaíno covering at second for the force play that will end the inning. So a base hit, a walk, and 2 left. The score at the end of 6, the Cardinals 3, the Mets 1. And here's a word from Miller Brewing. Top of the 7th inning, the Cardinals leading by a score of 3-1. And once again for the play-by-play, Tim McCarver.
Jeff Kent leads it off here in the top of the 7th. Jeff has grounded out a couple of times. Hello, sweetheart. Got her looking rather resplendent there in her Cardinal red. There's a Pittsburgh fan. How about that? Fellow with the Pittsburgh Pirates cap. We just
Probably
had
here with a contract to sign Musial up for the Pirates.
Sitting next to the older Cardinal cap. That was the blue with the red lettering. Now the Cardinals with the red cap and white lettering. But the Cardinals for years wore the blue cap with red letters. The Mets colors, of course, the blue taken from the Dodgers, the orange taken from the San Francisco Giants because of both teams' exodus after the 1957 season. Jeff Kent takes a fastball inside from Alan Bennis. Bennis trying to go 4-0, and Mark Clark trying to win his first game of the year. Hit hard by Clayton at shortstop. So Jeff Kent with a base hit. And that'll bring up Brent Mayne, the catcher. Say about 30,000 on hand. A good crowd, a business person special here in St. Louis. Nets head to Pittsburgh, 2 night games and then a day game on Sunday. We will cover tomorrow night's game on the air at 7:30. Jason Isringhausen and Zane Smith. And then on Sunday, Bobby Jones goes against Paul Wagner. Paul Wilson against Danny Darwin on Saturday night. Breaking ball is inside and low to Brent Mayne. Brent 0 for 2 on the afternoon. Another breaking ball for a strike. 1-1 to Mayne. The Cardinals, no activity in their bullpen. But Doug Henry, you could barely see him at the top of the screen. The Cardinals, as a matter of fact, are planning on putting the visiting bullpen in right center field next year. But it's going to cost $1 million. And Walt Jocketty, the general manager, said we have to have a better year. And here's Brent Mayne. Down the right field line, home run, Brent Mayne, a tie ball game. Brent Mayne with only 1 home run last year. It was off Ricky Bonas. And now Dallas Green calling back his pinch hitter, and it looks like Mark Clark will stay in there. A 2-run shot by Brent Mayne to tie it here in the 7th.
Third home run given up by Alan Bennis this year, and a big one for the New York Mets as they have tied it up. Brent Mayne beat the Cardinals with a pinch hit base hit to drive in the winning run in the earlier series with the Cardinals at Shea Stadium. So he has contributed largely to the Mets' success against the Cardinals.
How about that? He had 1 home run off Ricky Bonas of the Brewers last year, and now this 2-run shot on a ball down and in.
The left-handed batter's delight, that down and in pitch, that's the one they can handle, and it's almost universal. So Mayne, who had a home run, a long home run in spring training for the Mets, gets his home run here to put the Mets in a tie.
Ray Ordonez 0 for 2 with a 9-game hitting streak, and it's 1 ball and a strike. You know, we said that Stan Musial never ran into a harmonica that he didn't like. Well, left-handed hitters never ran into a ball down and in they didn't want to hit. Ball and 2 strikes now to Ordonez. 3-3 game here in the 7th.
catching position for the Mets, contributing 9 home runs so far in the month of April.
Line drive, base hit to left field, and Ordonez extends his hit streak to 10. One of the interesting things about that, Royce Clayton going out, he found out he couldn't catch the ball with his glove, and he made a quasi effort with his right hand. Watch.
Right hand a little bit deeper toward the outfield. He's trying to corral that with that bare hand. But Ordonez with that 10-game hitting streak now, 1 for 3 in this game.
The last barehanded catch that I remember happened in the 1989 season, and it was Kevin Mitchell in this ballpark that caught a ball barehanded off the bat of Ozzie Smith.
He had overrun the ball and reached back to catch it barehanded.
Clark to bunt, and he takes ball 1. 3-3 game here in the 7th, thanks to a 2-run home run by Brent Main as Mike Cubbage gives the signs to Mark Clark. Tony La Russa now out to talk to Bennis. This copyrighted telecast is authorized under television rights granted by Sterling Doubleday Enterprises, LP, solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, or use of pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of Sterling Doubleday Enterprises, LP, is prohibited. Any commercial, or other use of the program, such as by charging admission for its showing, is likewise prohibited. Mike Cubbage now in conference with Mark Clark in foul territory between home and third. You can see him on the right-hand side of your picture. So we'll see what the Mets do. The count, 1 ball, no strikes. Ordonez on at first base. Nobody out here in the 7th. And Clark allowed to stay in the game thanks to his battery mate's 2-run home run. Pitchers will step off occasionally to see what a hitter would do. Clark was not fighting. Ordonez came into the game batting .323, and another hit today, a 10-game hitting streak. Outside and low, ball 2, 2-0.
Longest hitting streak by a Met this year. Jeff Kent had hit in 9 consecutive ball games before he had been stopped. He was stopped a few days back.
See if the bunt's on again. 2 balls, no strikes to Mark Clark. And it's fouled away. Bobby Wine flashing the signs to Mike Cubbage at third, who in turn relays them to Ordonez and Clark. The bunt's a good one. Bennis has only played to first base, and he throws it wide, and Clark's safe.
He had all the time in the world. It appeared that he didn't ever get the ball into his fingers so he could make a throw. It was off to the side and not in complete possession of the ball. He's got time. He throws it and it rolls right off the side of his hand. There's one good example why you got to run hard down that line, because anything can happen. If he had just taken it for granted, it could have come back and gotten the out.
Well, of course, most pitchers don't run real hard for obvious reasons, trying to save their strength for the mound. But you're right, had Clark taken that approach here, then Alicea would have had time to get back and tag the bag with his glove. So here's Lance Johnson. Ordonez on at second, Clark on at first, a 3-3 game. nobody out here in the 7th inning. Fastball for a strike to Lance Johnson, who is 0 for 2. He did walk and score the first run of the game for the Mets in the 1st inning. Gary Gaetti, like his counterpart Jeff Kent, gives the infield signals in bunting situations, but Johnson taking from the hitting position on the first pitch. 0-1 to Johnson. Hit deep to right field. If it's fair, it's gone. Home run, Lance Johnson. 6-3, New York on top. The Mets have exploded for 5 runs here in the 7th and lead Alan Bennis and the Cardinals 6-3.
Well, Lance Johnson, whose specialty is the 3-base hit, he leads the National League in triples with 6. Takes one downtown, so he adds 1 more base and comes up with his first home run with the New York Mets.
Meanwhile, Jose Vizcaino with 8 straight hits. That ties the Mets record. And it's 1-1 to Jose.
This is his 18th Major League home run, and there is no doubt about it. The Mets on top now by a score of 6-3 with 5 runs in here in the top of the 7th inning.
Grounded foul, a ball and 2 strikes to Vizcaino. I'll tell you, you could take those 2 pitches, the home run by Brent Mayne and the home run by Lance Johnson, and throw a small pizza over them. That's how close they were to being in the same spot. Both fastballs down and in. Fly ball left center. Langford deep on the run. Can't get to it. 9 straight hits for Vizcaino, and he's going to have a triple. 2 singles, a double, and a triple today after going 5 for 5 in his last 5 at-bats. 9 straight hits for Vizcaino. Brother.
That is a new New York Mets record. 9 consecutive base hits, a record for the New York Mets, and it'll knock Alan Bennis out of the box, and Bennis took a 3-1 lead into the top of the 7th inning.
So it's 6-3 Mets. Vizcaino on at third. Nobody out. And this call to the bullpen brought to you by Nynex. We'll be right back. Six-3 ball game. Mets on top 5 here in the 7th inning. The Cardinals bring their infield in, and Jeff Parrott on the mound.
Parrott with a record of 1-1. He has no saves. Earned run average of 1.38. This is his 11th game for the Cardinals.
Bernard Gilkey has driven in 1 with a sac fly today. Driving in Lance Johnson in the 1st inning. Bernard 0 for 2. Ground ball, base hit through the drawn-in infield. 7-3 New York. RBI number 21 for Gilkey. A new Mets record. Jose Vizcaino hitting in 9 straight plate appearances.
The National League record is 10, held by Bip Roberts. And the Major League record is 12 consecutive base hits, held by Pinky Higgins and also Walt Dropel.
He is sizzling in St. Louis. Butch Husky the batter, and the breaking ball high from Parrott. do you figure this game? Mets with 3 hits coming into the 7th inning. Ray Ordonez extending his games hit in a row to 10. Slider high to Husky. 2 balls and no strikes. Vizcaíno now with 9 straight hits. That's a month's work for some guys.
Well, it is.
He's done it in 3 games.
And he has a chance to hit for the cycle. He'll have another at bat. He needs a home run to complete the cycle, a single, a double, a triple. So he has a shot at hitting for the cycle.
There goes Gilkey, swing and a miss by Husky, and safe at second is Gilkey. 2 balls and a strike now to Husky, and for Gilkey, stolen base number 5 on the year is Border's throw to the 3rd base side.
And right here, the throw to the other side, 3rd base side, and not held on to. So Gilkey comes up with that 5th stolen base, and he has been thrown out twice this year.
Butch Husky 0 for 3 on the game. The Mets with 6 runs in here in the 7th. Slider hit deep to right field. Back is Jordan, and this ball is gone. Home run. Butch Husky is first of the year, and the Mets lead it 9-3.
3 home runs in the inning.
Dan Musial talking about that parade on October 6th, the Pulaski parade. Well, the Mets have had a parade around the bases of their own here in the 7th inning. Wow.
Bronya coming up will be the 9th batter, and Mark Clark, you saw a shot of him being the beneficiary of the Mets hitting, and he was safe on an error on a sacrifice attempt that kept it all going.
Still nobody out. 8 men to the plate here in the 7th. A strike to Bronya. Ground ball towards second. Mock applause in St. Louis. 1 away. Jeff Kent started everything here in the 7th with what was then, from the Cardinals' perspective, a harmless single to center field. Then a triple, make that a home run by Brent Maine to tie it, a 2-run shot. Single by Ordonez. Mark Clark sacrificing. And a throwing error by Alan Bennis, the pitcher. Then a 3-run homer by Lance Johnson. A triple by Vizcaíno. He was driven in by Gilkey, and then now a 2-run shot by Butch Husky. It's 9-3 New York. Another hit for the Mets. 2 in an inning by Kent. Now the Mets starting pitcher today, Mark Clark, his namesake, used to the heavy guns. He was a general. And the pitcher, Mark Clark, getting a hammering of the beachheads here in the 7th inning. The Mets have scored 8 times and lead it 9-3. A strike to Brent Maine, who had a 2-run homer earlier in the inning.
Interesting thing about Mark Clark, he was going to be taken out for pinch hitter until the 2-run home run by Brent Maine.
He has reason to smile. Boy.
So he was left in to sacrifice, and he is now on the winning side of this ball game after being behind 3-1.
Ground ball towards second. Alicea couldn't get it out of his glove, and he dropped it short. Clayton had it in his glove. He dropped it. And I think it's going to be an error on Royce Clayton. This has been an inning from hell for the Cardinals.
Well, the manager going out to check with the second base umpire, Angel Hernandez, and it could be in regard to some interference.
I think what he's talking about, Ralph, is whether he was in the act of throwing or not. He didn't appear to be throwing right there.
No, he never had it.
No, he never had his right hand in his glove. I think that's a good call by Angel Hernandez.
Well, it's frustration on the part of LaRosa. I can't say his name. Tony.
Ray Ordonez now the batter. The Mets have sent 11 batters to the plate in this inning. They have scored 8 times on 8 hits, and here's that play again.
Throw is not a good throw to handle, but it should have been caught. Never had possession of it. Certainly no interference, and certainly did not have possession.
Was not in the act of throwing. A ball and no strikes now to Ordonez. Tony La Russa saw his Cardinals lose to the Expos 12-11 on Tuesday night after being shut out on Monday. 1-1 to Ordonez. Foul back, right below us. Busch Husky with his first home run. Like a slider out over the plate. He hammered it to right field.
Husky now has hit in 8 consecutive ball games, so he's showing signs of breaking out of that early season slump.
2 for his first 30 on the year. 1 for 4 today. Slider, nice play. Borders 2-2 now to Ordonez. Cardinals hoping the Mets bat until it rains. Ground ball towards short. Clayton, Alicea. Mercifully, this inning is over. The Mets score 8 times on 8 hits and lead it 9-3. We're back after this from your local Honda dealer. Nine to 3, Mets on top of the Cardinals. They scored 8 runs, did the Mets, on 8 hits, 2 Cardinal errors in the top of the 7th. Mets sending 12 men to the plate as Chris Jones is in for Busch Husky. And you may remember it. I'm not too sure who sang the song. It was suggested that Peter, Paul, and Mary did, but where have all the flowers gone? I think it might have been the Kingston Trio or one of those groups. I guess the question in baseball, Ralph, is where have all the pitchers gone? 195 runs scored yesterday. That was that average of 13.9 runs per game represented the highest one-day average in this century on any of the 1,593 days in which 14 games were played. And here the Mets scoring 8 runs, three home runs in the 7th inning, 2 two-run shots, and a 3-run shot. As Royce Clayton pops it up, Rico Bronya. 1 out here in the 7th inning. Whew. It's going to be tough. Read like a thesaurus, the Nobody Beats the Wiz game summary. An 8-run inning. Home runs accounting for 7 of those runs. A 2-run shot by Maine and Husky. 3-run home run by Lance Johnson. And Mark Clark has done very well. Jose Vizcaíno 9 for his last 9. 0-1 to Brian Jordan. And Jose will have a chance to bat at least one more time in this game. you take him out now?
No, he's got
Take
a
him
chance
out for defense?
That would be the ultimate.
That'd be cruel, wouldn't it?
Although Jim Gentile was taken out of a ball game by Paul Richards, and we'll tell you about that later.
Grounder to short. Ordonez throws out Jordan. 2 outs here in the 7th.
Gentile was taken out of a ball game after he had hit grand slam home runs his first 2 times up in the game. And Paul Richards took him out of the game.
Clay Kirby of the San Diego Padres was taken out of a game in which he was throwing a no-hitter, 7 1/3, I believe.
8 innings.
8 innings by Preston Gomez of the Padres.
Took him out for a pinch hitter. He was losing the game by 1 run. They took him out for a pinch hitter, and Preston Gomez did it again to another pitcher when he was at Houston. And his argument was, you're in the game to win the game, not to preserve no-hitters.
Ray Lankford, the batter. No strikes to Lankford, make that 2 balls, no strikes to Ray. 9-3 Mets on top here in the 7th inning. Ball 3.
Fuzzy Bavasi was the general manager when Preston Gomez took out Kirby in that ninth inning for a pinch hitter. He went berserk. He says the man's going to pitch a no-hitter. The Padres were an expansion club at the time. And so they said, well, we need the publicity. We want a pitcher to pitch a no-hitter.
3-1 to Lankford. Fouled away, full count. Cardinals won last night's game 9-4. Mets leading 9-3 here, and Lankford walks. Third walk issued by Mark Clark. One of those intentional. And Ron Gant, the batter. Clark pitched for the Cardinals in 1990 and 1991. During that time, he was 4-11. He went to the Cleveland Indians in 1992 when Mark Whitten came to St. Louis. Ground ball to short, or to third, I beg your pardon. And Kent goes the short way. And Jose Vizcaino is coming up this inning. He has 9 hits in a row. 9-3 Mets, as you can see on a Miller line score, and we'll be right back. Mets, top of the 8th inning, and Jay Horowitz, publicity director and vice president of the Mets, working frantically, trying to find out a lot of things, and probably checking in Pittsburgh somewhere to make sure that that German Shepherd is not president that bit him about 5 years ago while he was out jogging.
Across the bridge,
jogging on the bridge, and he was bitten in the derriere by a German Shepherd. Mabry makes a nice play on a foul ball hit by Mark Clark.
Obviously, the German Shepherd was certainly not a Mets fan.
Well, the German Shepherd was taken to the hospital and
given tests for rabies.
Yeah, given test, right. Not for him, from Jay. Oh, a million lines after that incident happened in the city of the confluence, Allegheny and Monongahela, to form the Ohio, as Ralph Kiner is so fond of saying. And this is a high chopper. Johnson's out, 2 pitches for Parrott, but Jose Vizcaino coming up. He has 9 straight hits, a Mets record. Should he get ahead here, it would tie a National League record. We believe that's official. It will tie a National League
Roberts,
record.
Yes.
If he gets a hit right here. He's 4 for 4 today. Outside, ball 1. 1-0 to Vizcaíno.
Since the birth of his third child, he has really been red hot. Jonathan, born when the Mets were in New York.
Born last Friday evening when Vizcaíno's wife, Jessica, went into labor. Jose, as a matter of fact, started that game. He was taken out for Edgardo Alfonso. He got the game-winning RBI on Saturday. And he fouls this one back, a ball and 2 strikes to Vizcaíno. Jonathan was Jose and Jessica's third child. He has really been a proud papa the last week. Low from Parrott, 2-2. Foul. Vizcaíno still alive with 9 straight hits to his credit.
He's 8 for 8 in this series, the 2-game series with the Cardinals.
Swing and a miss. He's down on strikes. Well, Joe, it was great while it lasted. I've never seen anybody get 9 straight hits. Still 9-3 Mets. We're back after this from your local Dodge dealer. John Mabry leads it off for the Cardinals here in the 8th with the Mets on top 9-3. Well, Edgardo Alfonso is in the game for the slumping Jose Vizcaíno, who's now 0 for his last 1.
What have you done for me lately?
Jose with 9 straight hits. I guess that would be the eternal pessimist who would say that Vizcaíno is slumping. Now, Bobby Wine has every reason to be happy. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes now to John Mabry. There is the disconsolate Vizcaíno behind one because he's only 9 for his last 10, proving that he's human. Jose with 9 straight hits. My goodness, 2 singles, a double, and a triple today. Mets scoring 8 runs in the top of the 7th. 3 home runs accounting for 7 of those 8 runs. Grounded to first. Bronya takes it himself, 1 out here in the 8th. Gary Gaetti now, he doubled his last time up, 1 for 3 on the afternoon. No balls and a strike now to Gary Gaetti. Popped up left field. Ordonez is back, and Ordonez makes the play. Let's see if he's all right. Ordonez, a brilliant play. There are a lot of left fielders that don't play that shallow. Bernard Gilkey appeared to hit Ordonez with his knee. Both are all right. 2 out.
Look how far he goes for this ball. Oh. Gilkey evidently all right, but he really got kneed by Ordonez as he tries to get out of the way.
Oh, what a play. My goodness. And Bernard appears to be all right after taking the knee into the face, or the shin, I should say, to the left side of the face, and Bernard's all right. My gosh. Tender loving care, and he's in the right place. He's at home from University City, Missouri, right here in St. Louis. Slider to Pat Borders, 1-1 to Borders. He'll need it after that collision. Oh. Ground ball to short. Ordonez bobbles it, and now the throw, he can't make the play. So an error on Ordonez. That's the 6th error of the year on Ray.
The Mets have the worst fielding percentage in the National League. They came into this game with 25 errors. That's their 26th. And they had a fielding percentage of .966. And the second part of this play unnecessary. He had no chance to get him. He threw one away and got a double error earlier this year on a ball that he missed and then threw away for the second error.
That was in Denver when the Mets were playing the Rockies. A double error. He bobbled it, then threw it wide with the bases loaded. So after the spectacular play in left field, Ordonez boots the ball, and it's 0-1 to Luis Alicea, who's 1 for 2 on the afternoon. Wanted to bunt again. He takes strike 2. 0-2 now to Alicea.
Jay Horwitz just informed us that the 8 runs the Mets scored in the 7th inning, the most runs they've ever scored in the 7th inning in their history, which dates back to 1962.
And those of you who were with us 11 years ago know that the most runs the Mets have ever scored in the top of the 19th inning, 5. That against the Atlanta Braves in that bizarre July 4th, 5th game. Matter of fact, that's the most runs ever scored in the top of the 19th inning in the history of baseball.
And then they had the fireworks right after that.
At 4 a.m. in the morning. I think that's redundant, 4 a.m. in the morning. Chris Jones is over to make the play. What a ball game. The Mets with 8 runs in the 7th lead at 9-3, and we're back after this from your local Chevy Geo dealer. The Mets are doing to the Cardinals what the Cardinals did to them about 18 hours ago. St. Louis winning last night's game 9-4. And the Mets on top here 9-3, top of the 9th inning. As Bernard Gilkey comes up, Bernard 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run scored. Jose Vizcaino with 4 straight hits, his first 4 times at bat today. And that gave him 9 straight hits. That's a New York Mets record, surpassing Keith Hernandez 8 straight hits in '85 and Jerry Grody with the same number back in 1970. Breaking ball is high. 1 ball and no strikes to Gilkey. To Bernard Gilkey. Tap toward third. Gaetti will have to hurry. Got his man. Nice play, Gary Gaetti. And Ralph, you mentioned just 6 days ago, Jose Vizcaino and his wife Jessica giving birth to a bouncing baby boy, Jonathan. And since that time, Jose has batted a lusty .522. So that's pre-Jonathan, he was hitting .239. Post-Jonathan, .522.
Well, every 9 months he has something to look forward to.
No, that's what Gary Thorne said the other day. He ought to have more children. Oh, boy. Chris Jones is first at bat. He had a 2-run homer to win it against the Reds 2 nights ago. And it's 0-1 to Chris Jones. nothing in two. But, you know, we kind of kid the pre-Jonathan, post-Jonathan thing. But, you know, Jose, obviously, with thousands of things on his mind, the concern for his wife and his child to start the season, a lot of people lose sight of the fact that life does interfere with a baseball season, and sometimes it's impossible to get those worrisome thoughts out of your mind.
The old adage, the show must go on, is certainly part of baseball.
Still 0-2 to Chris Jones. Down on strikes. 2 outs here in the 9th inning.
Well, Jones's last big at bat was a game-winning 2-run home run for the Mets, and now he comes in here and strikes out with nobody on. That was the start of a big win for the Mets.
That was in the 10th inning of Wednesday in the AM. And then the Mets had to travel to St. Louis. They arrived about 5 o'clock. Meanwhile, the Cardinals played in Montreal. They lose a 12-11 game as we take a look at our National League scoreboard. Montreal winning again, by the way, as Rico Brogna comes up. Brogna 0 for 3 on the afternoon. Fastball high. The Cardinals, they have 2 buses. The media and the players, the announcers, equipment manager, everybody, naturally, the traveling unit. They are delayed by an hour and 15 minutes getting out from underneath the bowels of Olympic Stadium in Montreal as we take a look at our Toyota American League scoreboard. Nobody had the combination to the gate to let the buses out. They didn't get to the airport as Brogna signals into right field. They didn't get to the airport, Maribel, the farthest airport in Montreal, until about 3:30. They arrive at 6 a.m. So the Mets get in at 5 a.m. Cardinals get in at 6 a.m. and they play last night. And everybody thinks it's glamorous, right?
It's a great way to make a living. Can't beat the hours.
Brogna with a hit, his first of the day, and hit number 12 for the Mets.
The saying is it beats heavy lifting.
Got that right. Edgardo Alfonso's first at bat of the afternoon.
Every Mets player in the lineup with a base hit with the exception of the pitcher.
Every regular.
Regular, yeah.
All 8 starters with at least 1 hit. 0-1 to Alfonso. Another slider for a strike. 0-2 to Edgardo. Failed to score in the 9th inning, and the sea of red has turned into seats of red here at Busch Stadium. 9-3 Mets. We'll be back after this from Chrysler. Nine to 3, Mets on top. 8 runs in the 7th inning on 8 hits and 3 home runs in the 7th inning.
Last time the Mets had 3 homers in 1 inning was back on June 2nd, 1993, when Bonilla, Walker, that's Chico Walker, and Hundley had 3 home runs in the same inning. That was in Wrigley Field in Chicago. And for Clark, his last National League win was back on August 28, 1992. Mark Clark trying to get his victory here for the New York Mets in his last one back in 1992 against the Dodgers.
Mark Sweeney will be the pinch hitter for Jeff Parrott. Mark Sweeney batting .316. He's 6 for 19 on the young season, and the slider from Clark is a strike. No Mets starting pitcher has gone into the 9th inning this year. Mark Clark trying, of course, for the first complete game the Mets have thrown. Great play by Alfonso, 1 out. A dazzling stop by Alfonso, and he gets Sweeney at first. And that'll bring up Royce Clayton.
Edgardo Alfonso, and he is a great prospect for the New York Mets, and the Mets have said they're going to try and get him under the present conditions with Kent playing third and Vizcaino playing second, at least 300 at-bats in this season, and he has a future ahead of him.
0-1 to Royce Clayton, who's 0 for 4. On a fielder's choice and scored a run in the 5th. It's 9-3 New York. Towards second, cut off by Bronya to first, out at first base. Clayton thought he was safe, but there are 2 outs.
Good play all the way around here, Bronya and Clark. And it took a very close play to pick up the out there, and now the Cardinals are down to their last out.
Brian Jordan, the batter, he had an infield hit to drive in a run in the 5th inning. He's 1 for 4. Ground ball towards short. That should do it. 3 up, 3 down to the Cardinals. The Mets win it. First complete game of the year. We'll be right back after this from your local Honda dealer.